Right now, something in your life may feel like it is quietly coming apart. And I want to share what Carl Jung discovered after a lifetime of working with real people facing exactly that feeling. What looks like the worst chapter of your life could actually be the doorway to its best one. If you are in your 60s or beyond, wondering whether the years ahead still hold something real for you, what Jung found may completely change how you see where you are standing right now. Think about the most meaningful turning points of your life. Were they the calm, comfortable seasons? Or were they the seasons when something broke open, when a role you had played for years no longer fit, when the ground beneath you shifted and you had no idea what was coming? Jung spent his entire career studying that exact kind of moment. He worked with hundreds of patients, many of them in their 50s and 60s, who arrived at his door believing their lives were finished. Careers had ended, marriages had changed or dissolved. The identity built across decades of hard work no longer seemed to belong to them. Their families saw crisis. But Jung looked at those same people and saw something that surprised even his colleagues. He saw someone standing at a beginning. He borrowed a name for this from alchemy, a field he studied because he believed the old alchemists had unknowingly mapped the inner life centuries before psychology existed. He called it the Nigredo, the darkening. In alchemical tradition, it described the first stage of genuine transformation, a necessary breaking down before anything of lasting value could be shaped. Nothing refines without first allowing the old form to dissolve. Jung believed our inner lives follow the same law. In the second half of life especially, there are seasons when everything that gave your days their shape, your roles, your certainties, your sense of purpose begins to loosen. Almost everyone inside that experience reads it as failure. They assume wrong choices were made, that time has run out, that the settling quiet is an ending. Jung kept observing, across decades of careful work, that this reading was exactly backwards. Picture a harvested field in late autumn. The surface looks bare and finished. But underneath, the soil is doing its most essential work, resting, reorganizing, deepening. The apparent stillness is not the absence of life, it is preparation for it. Jung identified 4 specific signs that a person is not falling apart but standing at the entrance to something genuinely new. The first sign is that ordinary things quietly stop feeling meaningful. Routines feel mechanical. Old goals seem hollow. Jung understood this as the psyche drawing its energy inward, the way a tree pulls its life force toward its roots before winter, saving everything it needs for the season ahead. The second sign is that the deeper parts of your mind grow louder. Old memories surface unexpectedly. Dreams become vivid and strange. Emotions arrive without obvious cause. This is the unconscious finally finding room to speak, rising through the gaps left by a loosening identity. The third sign is a pull towards solitude that those around you misread. You want stillness. You want fewer obligations, fewer performances. Jung saw this not as withdrawal, but as conservation. Something inside is being rebuilt, and rebuilding requires quiet. The fourth sign is the most unsettling. You begin to feel unfamiliar to yourself. Old values shift. The life you constructed no longer feels entirely like yours. Jung called this the emergence of the deeper self, the truer center that has been waiting beneath the decades of roles you fulfilled. Meeting it is disorienting. But it is, he believed, the whole purpose of the second half of life. If any of these feel familiar, you are not broken. You are in a threshold. And the difference between a threshold and a dead end is everything. The hardest part of this threshold is not the loss itself. It is the silence between what was and what has not yet arrived. Your mind wants to fill that gap immediately with a plan, a role, a certainty. When those are absent, the discomfort can be unbearable. Jung watched patients run back to careers that had been slowly suffocating them, to relationships that had ended in every meaningful way, simply to escape the open space of not knowing what came next. Those who retreated carried a quiet ache for the rest of their lives, a sense that something genuine had almost begun, but they had turned from it. The ones who stayed in the uncertainty, who resisted filling the gap too soon, those were the people Jung watched transform in ways that surprised even themselves. What waited on the other side was not a better version of the old life. It was something far more real, a sense of being rooted in yourself that no circumstance could shake. Relationships built on honesty rather than performance. A quality of calm that had nothing to do with what was happening around you. Jung believed the second half of life could be its most meaningful half, not in spite of the difficulty, but because of it. If you are sitting in that gap right now, wondering whether the years ahead still hold something genuine, hear this clearly. The difficulty you are carrying is not evidence that your best chapters are behind you. It is evidence that something more honest is trying to emerge. If this video reached something in you, please give it a like. It helps more people on this journey find Carl Jung Psychology Hub. And leave a comment telling me which of those 4 signs felt most true for you. I read every one. You do not need to rush the next chapter. You only need to trust that it is already forming quietly beneath everything you can currently see.